I have more, black female journalists than I have male. And when somebody say black women, actually, from what I have said in the past, that if you're a black man and you build it, and if you can employ black women and their money not coming from the white man and his system, they will respect you more. But definitely information is key. We definitely are a battling in a propaganda war. I say that completely. That's who we are. That's what we do. We cannot allow white supremacist media to demonize us, to wage propaganda against us. So we're going to be standing against that. And everyone that works for us understand that you are a general in a propaganda war. That's what we do. How do people form stereotypes on black people, black men, black women, and never met you? Where does it come from? It comes from propaganda, which Hollywood is a form of propaganda. TV is a form of propaganda. Your CNNs, MSNBCs, Fox News, all that's propaganda. Their job completely in the white supremacist system is to protect the white image. We got to fight for our image. We got to protect the image of black people. I don't care if I like you or don't like you. It's about the whole. We got to protect the image. He or she who controls information control the mind.
Okay, you guys. So we are here for the next installment of the Black Men's Leadership Series. And I'm super excited to have Phillip Scott with me. He is the founder of African Diaspora News. He also has the Phillip Scott Show. And recently he launched an application, which I'm sure he'll tell us about, where we can get news about our diaspora all the time. So I want to say this. I focus a lot on institution building, and I wish I would have brought you on earlier because when we talk about institution building, it's so easy to think about schools and farming and all of this, but media is a huge part of that. And I think undisputably, it's an indisputable fact that Phillip has the largest diasporic news network that's independent. I'm sure in the country. I would not be surprised if it was in the world. Do you know?
I wouldn't say the world because on a global scale, you're competing with everybody. But I guess, I've been told, at least on this side, of the pond, that, we have, one of, at least on social media, one of the largest, black owned. But, for me, it's not about who's large, who's small, because I've always, had the mentality that you're only good as your last upload. It doesn't matter about those numbers. The numbers is, what they are. You stick with it long enough. That's what I tell people. Consistency is the key. Our channel been around since 2012. And I didn't start really taking this extremely seriously until maybe about 2015 or so. So it takes time, and a lot of people, unfortunately, don't either have the time or they don't have the maybe desire, to get to that point. And there's nothing wrong with that because everybody have their walk in life. But, for me and then the rest of, our journalists and contributors and all our team, like I said, we only focus on we only good as our last upload.
Can I ask you what motivated you to start media network, and then you've expanded a lot. It's moved beyond you reporting the news, and like you said, you have a lot of contributors. What caused you to initially start up, and what provoked you to change the way you format things to bring in so many different voices?
Oh, you talking about some years. So, well, for me, it all started as a hobby. Just on my days off at work, YouTube was there. I started off doing it in my bathroom, just making videos. Like a lot of people used to do videos in their bathroom, actually, before we got all this technology and, green screens and 4K cameras and all that. It was just, I had a Sony camera in my bathroom and upload videos. I remember the first time I had got maybe a video, got about 30,000 views. And I remember the first time I ever seen that, I said, wow, I got that many views on a video. And all the comments I had got at the time, I said, man, people actually like what I'm saying. I said, this is interesting, because as a kid, I was always told, I talk too much, motor mouth and all that. I said, now people actually want to hear what I got to say. So that's really where I got more and more into it. And this was way before, monetization even came into play, because at that time period, you couldn't get monetization like that. You literally had to be on YouTube, no monetization or anything. And then YouTube at that time had to invite you to monetization. And you knew somebody got invited to monetization when you saw custom thumbnails. If you want a custom thumbnail, then you need to let your video run at the end, maybe about 10, 15 seconds. And with a picture you put up, then that was your kind of hack to have a custom thumbnail. But when Google bought it, they just let everybody in monetization. And they're like, well, you kind of took the incentive away, but it's fine. Okay, it's fine. Um, I had got with our first branding. This lady's working on branding. And at the time, she told me, she said, listen, you need to go from just being a YouTuber to having your own brand and then your own company. I say, well, what do you mean? So she laid that out like, listen, you just being a YouTuber, you just a person in somebody else's company, making videos and you have no importance. You're just a number or whatever. You say, but if you learn how to utilize that platform to build something else and separate yourself from the pack, and say that's the route to go. And so I say, okay. And I'm always the type of person, if somebody I feel give me some good ideas, because I don't know everything, I try to implement that. If it don't work, well, it don't work. I'm not afraid to try new things. So we took it from just being a YouTuber to, okay, started upgrading cameras. I remember when I went from doing news and videos and just T-shirts, right? I remember that, to wearing suits, and all that was the branding process. Changing sound, just always looking to always stay up, moving around. So I did that alone for a few years until we got to I think 2015 or so. Me and my wife went to the Million Man March together, and we really enjoyed ourselves. It really opened our eyes to a lot. And I told her, I said, you know what? Um, I got to do things a little bit different when I come back to Houston. I said, I really got to make a major difference. So I went from, doing that and what I used to do in the past, at least, until what I started morphing into. Met Kellen. Shout out to Kellen. Kellen, he was a real brother. He came to me. I had no money like that. Yeah, I had no money. And the brother said, I just want to work with you. And he started working with us, and it got to the point it was definitely being profitable. Of course, praying the brother, what he feel he needed to have. And with that relationship, we started to focus more on growth, building the platform to what it is today, with doing the trips and doing, like I said, the contributors, and all this stuff has made me very nervous to do. I'm not going to lie. Because I'm so used to doing everything on my own. For me to now say we have editors, for me now to say we have graphic designer, to now say we have journalists, and then other contributors, that come in whenever they want to. Of course, they can make as much content as they want, and we have a arrangement, with those people, to compensate them for their work. And then as we looking at today, we have an app. Thank God. We have our own website. We're bringing in, another, sister in the community with her company, very experienced, to do BIIT, which is great. I've been needing that too. So for me, it's about laying the foundation, and then once you have the foundation, then you can go full throttle in the next area of growth, in which a lot of Black businesses unfortunately don't go the next level. And what I mean by that is marketing, advertising, etc. Because usually why we don't know about Black businesses is because they don't advertise at all. They don't want to have any kind of advertising budget. I don't know why. Even if it's just $500, have something to let people know where you're at, even locally. And that's a big disadvantage. But for us, I guess for me, I'm always looking forward to the next growth and, what we can provide for the people that work for us. I took the things from that I've learned from corporate America, what I hated, and I implemented the things that I loved, and then some things on top of that to the people that work, for us as a company. So we are looking, definitely to grow. I won't get into numbers, but we definitely paid a substantial amount of money from what I saw the previous year, all the black people, and I'm very, very proud for that. I don't need no. Well, I don't know what's the word people use for attention, clout, or nothing. I'm at the point I want to fall back. If I get a good enough team, you won't see me no more. And I've told people that, and they say, "Oh, we don't want you to stop doing videos," but you can't build a network always on camera. The CEO got to fall back eventually, right?
Yes. What is your goal with bringing different news that pertains to diaspora from all over the world? What are you hoping to accomplish with these news stories and putting this information out?
Well, definitely, a lot of times people just don't know what's going on. So definitely, information is key. Whether it's here, a lot of people on the continent of Africa don't know what's going on even in their own countries until sometime we report it. Um, but definitely, information is key. We definitely are a battling in a propaganda war. I say that completely. That's who we are. That's what we do. We cannot allow white supremacist media to demonize us, to wage propaganda against us. So we're going to be standing against that. And everyone that works for us understand that you are a general in a propaganda war. That's what we do. And we're going to fight that completely, because one thing that we have did never do in black media, if you study the history of it, you had maybe a few, like Ida B. Wells and others, but it wasn't, the drum beat that we're going to fight this, white supremacist propaganda against the black community. As you see the current propaganda, the black people attacking Asians, which good and well that is not overwhelmingly all over the country. I've definitely talked to a lot of Asian people about this. They understand what it is. I would feature, no different than how, white folks would do. I would feature any Asian on my channel that's debunking that. Because you got to understand warfare tactics and propaganda. I understand it completely. And some people may not agree with my methods, but I know what I'm doing. And we got to fight for our image. We got to protect the image of black people. I don't care if I like you or don't like you. It's about the whole. We got to protect the image. And
Can,
this is why.
can you talk a little bit, since you're going in that direction? Can you speak a little bit to the importance that propaganda has? A lot of times we associate propaganda with something negative, but how propaganda serves a purpose and countering propaganda is a necessity for the advancement of the diaspora.
Well, let's talk about the negative aspect. You look at stereotypes. How do people form stereotypes on black people, black men, black women, and never met you? Where does it come from? It comes from propaganda, which Hollywood is a form of propaganda. TV is a form of propaganda. Your CNNs, MSNBCs, Fox News, all that's propaganda. Their job in completely in the white supremacist system is to protect the white image and to wage propaganda, within whoever they're waging it from that day. But it's definitely it's a global system. So that's what they do completely. This is why, for instance, when you have the guy Robert Aaron Long will shoot up the Asian massage parlors, this is why they would say, "Oh, he was just having a bad day." But if Tyrone, had a cell phone in his hand, and the cop shot him down, oh, he was a criminal, he's this, or we don't know what's wrong with, everything's just automatically wrong with Tyrone or Jamal, but Robert, he just had a bad day. That's propaganda. And they do that because he or she who controls information control the mind. Okay. So this is how white supremacy also.
Can you say that again about who controls information?
No, I said he or she who controls information control the mind. This is why you
Right.
start. This is why the white supremacist system have invested so much money into media, and why the government gives money to all the CNNs, MSNBCs, etc., is because they are the propaganda mill that keeps white supremacy going. If you notice, if you remove the mainstream white corporate media, most of the divisions will stop in this country because they keep it going. How do they keep it going? They keep featuring certain people on there to keep it going. Even let's say the Asian black thing, right? They make sure to pick out certain Asians. Why? Because they want them to say a certain thing to keep the propaganda going. right? So the propaganda is to demonize black people, take the heat off of January the 6th and white supremacy. Okay, so let's make black people the face of racism. So we'll see some, homeless person, mentally ill person, and I believe when I'm seeing certain immigrants who could be black, who are being used and being paid to commit certain crimes against Asians, and then what they do is like the knockout game. They play the same thing in a loop. I mean, you know anything about criminals, right? We know in the black community, if a criminal know the block is hot, they're not gonna run to that particular crime and do it. If the whole nation is paying attention to it, they're gonna run away from it. They'll say, "Nah, it's too hot right there. I'm gonna chill out right now with that. I'm not trying to hit a lick on that. I ain't going to jail." No criminal we know in the black community will go commit a crime in front of 4K cameras when the block is hot. Who does that, right? We have to understand, even with history, black history, how certain people have been used to commit crimes, to commit assassinations, etc., for narratives, to try to demonize black people or keep the drumbeat going against black people. So that's at least negative. Positive, I don't really look at more so propaganda as a positive. I would just say that we just need to protect our image. To say, hey, when they lie and say black people don't care about education, oh well, we whatever group, we just believe in education and hard work. Okay, now it's our job to debunk that propaganda coming from another non-white group that was given to them by white supremacy, right? We combat that with showing the truth. And this more so what we have on our side as black people. We have the truth, so we don't have to lie. But I won't keep talking because I overtalk your show.
No, I mean, I'm interviewing you. So, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the leadership series, is because having the ability to counter propaganda, having the ability to make our diaspora aware of what's going on globally with our people is essential to us gaining control and also countering the indoctrination that a lot of our people suffer from. When we talk about your expansion, because you're expanding outward to have an application that's downloadable, I've pinned the comment to the top of the comment section, you guys, if you're interested in downloading the news app. What provoked you to expand to an application?
Well, as part of the growth process, this is the thing. A lot of people want to talk about, and I've said this, we have to understand Google, Facebook, Twitter, all Instagram, whatever major platform, the big five, as they talk about Google, Apple, Microsoft, Twitter, Facebook, that's all owned by white people. We have to be real with that. And I say that any moment, any of those companies could say, hey, okay, starting April the 1st, we don't want nobody talking about racism at all on any platform. We don't want to hear the term white supremacy anymore. All we want is, videos about Cardi B and Derrick Jackson, and which is fine. That's what you want to talk about. Listen, we even have an entertainment channel to talk about those sort of things in our own way, right? But if they say that, then you either going to get down with that rule or they're going to lay you down, which is banning you, right? So what happens to a lot of black people, we'll build these certain platforms up on these corporations, then they take it down. Then we mad and saying freedom of speech, and what freedom of speech really don't apply to private owned companies. So what I've always wanted to do is, you say you use YouTube, Facebook, Google as a, build up an audience, and then take some of that audience to your own things that you created. So that's why we created AfricanDiasporaNews.org. Of course, people complain about anything you do. They say, well, why you have to pay a monthly fee for that? Well, the reason why is we don't get the advertising like the white corporate, people will get, or even white YouTubers will get, right? I get no advertising from nowhere. I don't even get advertising from black people, because I was told, because see, we have a lot of black people in business that are afraid of like really what we do. They like it, but they too afraid to want to partner with it.
Associate themselves with that.
Yeah. But behind the scenes, they're like, yeah, tell them like that. They agree, but they don't want to make white mommy and daddy mad by partnering with somebody like me. So you can't cry about that. So you look at the model of a Netflix, HBO Max. You look at what is their model? A subscription. With a subscription, what I see with the Bill Maher situation, with the Bill Maher situation, when he made his statements about black people, the reason why people couldn't quote unquote cancel him is because they not looking for advertisers because they do subscription service. The only thing you could hurt HBO on is a subscription, right? That's it. Other than that, they keep going and people want to still pay the subscription fee. So we went to a subscription, based service. That way it pays for itself. And then at the same time, I can say what I want because YouTube has their rules. Like, for instance, certain terminology you can't even speak on this website. You can't even hardly talk about police brutality without your content being demonetized now. You better not say nothing about, well, let me see if I can use the word. Okay, I'm going to say it in Swahili. So you better not talk about those chanjos, which is that thing they keep want to push on you. You know what I'm doing. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I said it in
Hmm.
Swahili, chanjo. So that's the word you can use on if you want to say that. Okay. So I don't talk about that here because I know what happens. I'm like I said, someone I know, brother Nathaniel, had his whole channel taken down behind that. Um, certain subjects I want to get into, well, I get into it on my website. Or certain people I want to interview, I can't do it on YouTube, but I can do it on my website. Why? Because that's our own. Nobody could take that down over there. So how are we going to really get mad if eventually they tighten down and say, well, they don't want black empowerment? Well, it's white owned. What could we do but have our own? So the app's the same thing. We knew apps is something that people have in their daily life. So we wanted to make sure that we be in the hands of potential hands of billions of people.
Yes, I really like the idea of building infrastructure. I think we have to support organizations such as African Diaspora News on their independently built platforms. This is essential if we are ever going to come out of the grip of white media control. We have to be able to put our money behind that. We put our money behind a lot of things, right? We acquire a lot of European goods with our money. We pay for propaganda networks, um, cable networks, so that we can be indoctrinated with our money. And so we definitely have to put our money behind our people who are actually building independent all black infrastructure. I think that that is essential. Now, can we talk about the variety of programming that you have on your network? And it really does, and I want to emphasize this, it's called African Diaspora News, but when I'm watching it, it really reads more like a television network with a variety of programming. So, what are the types of things people are experiencing when they come over?
Well, I mean, we have, of course, we're trying to cover news all over the place, right? And yes, the goal is a network. A network can't be built off of one man and or one woman. So, many people may even say, well, I just want to see Phil. Well, them days of seeing Phil is gone. That's just not going to happen. Yes, I still enjoy doing content, don't get me wrong. But in order for us to grow, we have to grow with other people, right? I mean, Phil can do everything. I'm limited. And that's the problem with some of us in business also is that we don't really push for growth and expansion. So, when we have our contributors, let's say on the African continent, I tell them, okay, let's see if you can, with anybody can cover whatever they want to cover. But let's see if you can focus on what's going on the African continent. We have people sometimes, I think Richard Sudan now is a contributor from Press TV. And so he's covering things that's going on with black people in the UK. So what I want is whether it's people from here in America, Europe, UK, eventually, hopefully we can get someone, it's black and Asian. I want that. Someone is Afro Latino. I'm trying to get everybody. Somebody that lives in those locations, though Caribbean. I'm trying to get everybody I can to come in just to bring at least, in the face of you. I want to show that we all can work together, even in the area of media, because our problem is we're so, I guess, tribal. All of us are. Well, you're not my people. That's you. That's them. And so I want to show them that, look, yes, I can work with Africans. Yes, I can work with brothers and sisters in the UK. Yes, I can work with black people who are live in Asian countries. Yes, I can work with Afro Latinos. I'm showing you that eventually I'm trying to show you that we all can work together. At the end of the day, we all globally looked at as black, whether you like it or not. We all looked at as black or African or whatever. So I want to show you that and bring that in the guise of a news network, because let's call it what it is. CNN isn't doing it the way we're doing it. MSNBC is not doing it that way. Fox isn't doing it that way. and not looking toward our interests. So I believe what we're doing is definitely on the right track. Is it easy to do this? No. It's much easier just when I was doing things by myself, but hey, it's worth it.
Yes, I agree with that. Can we talk a little bit about um, why it is you choose to focus on the diaspora as a whole versus just Black Americans? And then I also, well, go ahead with that, and then I'll ask my follow up question.
Sure. To say this, after my first trip in 2018 to Ethiopia, my eyes was more so open to wait a minute, there's black people all over the world dealing with the exact same issues and problems. And it just amazed me how some of the hangups that we have is literally the freaking same. I mean, everything that we have going on in Black America, they got it going on in other countries. So I looked at it like this. In the guise of white supremacy is global. It's not relegated to the shores of America, right? And the one thing that they've done a very good job on with it's everybody in this country, not just black people. They make you think you're the only one matter and you're the only one in the world when but the system itself is global. So why is it that we aren't global? Why isn't it we aren't talking to other brothers and sisters in different countries? Maybe they got the plug on something that Black America needs. You understand what I'm saying? I just saw just by going that if we would go and connect with certain people, that we could bring these connections back to our neighborhoods in Black America. We can't depend on the white folks to give us anything, or sure, they're not giving us crap, not in business. Um, you look at different Asian groups, and I could connect us with anything unless they
Yeah.
benefit. For instance, if a small example, let's say you're a person that you want to come out with your own shoe company. You try to set up a shoe company here in America with a manufacturing, you're gonna get decimated on so many different things financially. But let's say because you got a connection, let's say in Rwanda, right? You go talk to the people in Rwanda. 9 times out of 10, you can get a connection with people in the government a whole lot easier than your own U.S. government, right? They don't want to talk to us. You go sit down with one of the ministers over there, and have a conversation with them. Say, hey, look, I want to set up this factory. I want to do this. I want to do that. And you have the right people there. You win on labor. Okay, let's call it what it is. I never understood prior to going to the African continent why corporations don't do nothing here. Oh, I get it now. It's because of labor. And they got the money to actually put factories here and all that. Like small business like us, we don't have that. So you benefit more in labor on the African continent. You can find out exactly what they get paid, and you can pay them more than what they should get paid. You know what I'm saying? And then they're, first of all, happy with that. Unemployment is pretty high, so you're providing jobs, right? Now you got a factory, for instance, to make your stuff, whatever that may be. Let's say you're a woman that's getting wigs made, you know how to get it done. Now you set up a factory. Now you got a whole team, let's say in Rwanda, get your wigs, ship them back to the black communities in America, and you charge them what it normally would cost to get a wig, right? So now you got manufacturing, you got shipping, companies like DHL, they ship all over the world, which they're good about that. Get DHL to do all your stuff. I mean, so we win that way. But how are we gonna win if we just stuck within the shores of America when everything is against us? Every system is against us, especially when we're trying to do for ourselves. How we win that way? So you got to go outside of
I,
America and connect with your people to win. You're just not gonna win no other way.
I completely agree. I completely agree that it has to be a global effort, and we have to look at ourselves as a collective diaspora, both on the continent, in Oceania, in Asia, et cetera, as you were pointing out, in Latin America, throughout the Caribbean. It's essential that we unify um, for us to make progress and utilize each other as resources so that we can create global industry. So I completely agree with you. Can we talk about, and I ask every single, I want to say this for those of you who are unfamiliar with my Black Men's Leadership series. The reason I started the series is because there is the perception that for a lot of women, or not even a perception, I have heard a lot of women say they have never met a Black man who is building, creating an infrastructure for our community, creating institutions for our community. So the purpose of my series is to introduce men and women who maybe have never encountered that before to people doing the work so that we can support them in this work. Because if we don't support people who are doing the work, we then cannot complain that we aren't seeing the work thrive. Like we have to get behind the people that are taking action. And in this, specifically because it's the Black Men's Leadership Series, I always ask, how is now, when you're building for the community, how do you find women? Are you finding Black women to be supportive or combative? Do you find Black women to be a hindrance to you or not? Everybody who's watched the series knows all of the men have pretty much answered this question the same, but I like to ask each man himself, what do you find when as you're building? Are you finding that you have that female support from the women in the community?
I can A lot of people support me. I'm gonna say men and women do support. Yes, they do. They give me, emails. Some people may donate, say appreciate what you're doing. I have more, black female journalists than I have male. So, and I specifically tell those women when they are in the U.S., they are in Kenya, they are in Uganda. I tell them, be yourself. Please wear your natural hair. You ain't got to worry about getting discriminated if you have locks here. We encourage, black people in every sense of the word. And when somebody say black women, actually, from what I have said in the past, that if you're a black man and you build it, and if you can employ black women and their money not coming from the white man and his system, they will respect you more because people respect you when you help them pay their bills. This is why the white man is going to be a little bit more respected because a lot of black folks work for white people. Now, if 50% of black people work for black people, and let's say black men and women in particular, right? That will change. So that's why I believe in we need to focus on, building. Time is money for me. And I could be building, I could be trying to help my the people that work for me get to the next level, what kind of bonus I can come up with so I can help incentivize our, employees and things like that. So, like I said, for me, I get more support than anybody complaining. To answer your question.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. And I have another question. If when you started this off, when you decided to make the change to building the African Diaspora News Network, when you made that change, was that something that was an internal thing that you wanted to do, something that you personally wanted to accomplish, or did you do that because of some sort of outward motivation?
No, nothing with me is outward motivation because if you really knew me personally, you knew nobody can't tell me nothing. I'm very, alpha male on my things. And, I consult with two people, only on any decisions I make is my wife and then Kellen. That's two people I consult. And I base it off, I listen to what both of them say, and then I base it off at the end of the day, I still make that decision. How I made the change is just like I got a lot of ideas. I tell people it was a God idea for me. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was sitting in my studio and it came to me, you need to change the platform. And the name came to me at 2 in the morning and I wrote it down and I said, I think that I should do this. And so I went ahead and did that. I got a new logo, made the change. If you look at, your DNA, all our DNA traced back to the African continent. If you want to stay here, a white mommy and daddy, and don't want to connect with nobody in the world, hey, do you, and God bless you. I love you still. But I used to get frustrated a lot with that because I look at why don't we look at things globally instead of just here. But then now, thank God, I'm at the point now. I'm only looking for people that want the same things within the community. If you don't want it, God bless you, and I'm with you, and I still fight for you. But we got to make sure we move on to other things.
Yeah, I definitely hear every man that I've brought up on the leadership series has said the same thing, that sometimes the work is thankless and that everybody's not going to be supportive of it, but your motivation has to come internally. Before you go, I just wanted to give people an opportunity to ask you a few questions. And I actually already had one from Tyrant's Bane. He asked if you had heard of King Randall.
I've heard of him, yes.
Okay. And for you guys, just so you know, I actually did reach out to King Randall and asked him to come and speak for the leadership series. So let's see if we can make that happen, if at all possible. And let's see. Does anybody else have any questions for
Can,
Philip?
can I
Yes.
respond to something somebody said?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Somebody named, I don't know who the freak is. I don't know. Anyway, so that comment comes from people that's not really in understand anything about U.S. labor law, understand about pay here in America. Um, and one thing, and I'm not no freaking Trump supporter, but Trump, what a lot of people liked about him, he got rid of a lot of regulations that held people back in business. Even though I know some of the regulations are there for a reason. But in America, when you set something up, you have everything in America you deal with. You have to have unemployment, workman's comp. A lot of people want insurance. Okay, minimum wage is what it is, and it could be going up to $15 an hour, or wherever. Right. Um, on top of that, you got to deal with a lot of racism. For instance, how you gonna get a factory built in America when you need a loan to do so? Okay, and we know statistically that Black Americans are discriminated against in the area of home loans and business loans. Okay, so you're dealing with 100 different things coming against you versus on the African continent. You could take the little money that you have, your money doubles and triples on the African continent. You can get people to build that same thing there. And yes, you don't have to deal with workman's comp and all these different things over there. So you can say what you want to say about the labor, but you're providing jobs. And anybody that works for me, even on the African continent, they will tell you we definitely pay them way more than what they should be getting paid, because we know the average amount of money people should be getting paid, and we pay well over that. Okay, and because I'm not going to just mistreat our people just because of the kind of, well, I can get away with paying this much. No, I'm going to pay you more than that because I'm your brother. I don't want to just mistreat you. So yes, at the end of the day, Black folks need business. Like, what is wrong with business? Either you create business or you're going to be a consumer. And when I can tell when consumers are talking versus when business people are talking. If we don't have no businesses in the Black community, you're going to be at the mercy of the white man and the Asians and the Arabs and the Indians, like you are now, versus when you create your own, then you're going to have to connect and do what you have to do. So I just wanted to respond to that.
Yeah, there are a couple other questions. Ms. Chantel asked, are you promoting international business?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I get many people messaging me about how could I establish a business in different countries. But the main issue I tell people is you can't establish nothing unless you go. Our company is also registered in Kenya, so we are a U.S. and Kenya-based company now. So, but you got to go. Many people ask 1,000 questions, but if you don't go, you don't even know if you want to put your business there. So, yes, I definitely promote international business.
Um, we had another question, and the question was from Malik. He said, when was the last time you punched a time clock?
When the last time I punched a time clock? Um, I punch a time clock every day. I mean, we are a corporation, so I definitely punch the time clock every day. I have no days off.
Okay. We need media outlets, you guys. We need media outlets. We need independent, Black ran, Black owned media outlets. We're either going to work together or we're not going to work together. And I really want to emphasize that and encourage you guys to download the application. It's pinned to my comment section, to subscribe to African Diaspora News, and perhaps more importantly, to go over to the website and subscribe to the website, because as Philip and I were discussing earlier, these platforms have the ability to deplatform our people at any time. At any time, we can be deplatformed. We're pushing back against the status quo. We have voices now in new Black media, but if we don't have outlets to go to that are not white owned, we will not have a voice for long. The minute they decide to silence us, we will be silenced. So it's very important that we have independent Black media outlets that are extremely Black focused. And also, there are interviews that he does over on his website and that his contributors do, as he was saying, that cannot be featured on YouTube because of the heavy restrictions that are on the kind of content that can be provided here. So if you are interested in some of that unique content, Black focused content, I would go over to the African Diaspora News website.
I've always said that maybe I'm not the guy that you feel that should be doing that. Okay, and that's fine. You know, maybe you feel you're smarter, you got more education. Maybe you're more, you know, maybe you're an oracle of the English language. You could be. I mean, hey, I'm not the best at nothing. I don't want to say that. But I always say it's room for everybody. So if you say Phil's not doing this, or he could be doing that, but that's not happening, then that's an open lane for you. Because I can't do it all, or we can't do it all. So we need more people to get in that media space. And what I mean by get into it for real, right? You know, apply the steps that you need. Don't get involved with the back and forths, because you notice I don't get involved with the back and forth thing. I refuse to. I learned years ago it's just a waste of your time to get involved with back and forth, or even catering to certain audiences is a waste of your time. So I would say get involved. You know, like I said, Irene's getting involved. Many other people's getting involved. You know, take the dedication. You want to take some time, money, you know, that you want to apply to this. That's what you really want to do. But there's always room for you. Okay. That's why I want to let everybody know it is room for you. Don't look to one lady or one guy and say, oh, they got this many followers. It doesn't matter about that. I started off with 0 followers like everybody else. So just, it's like it's room for you. That's the only thing I want to say. It's just room for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. And I hope that you guys are inspired by these stories, both the men and the women. A lot of us are not in a position to do some of these things ourselves, but we can support those who are. And the goal of the series, and thank you so much for coming through today. The goal of the series is to spotlight things that are being accomplished in our community so that we know that there are specifically our men out there working to build independent infrastructures for us where we can have our own outlets. And y'all go over to King's page and tell him to accept my interview. I just reached out to him yesterday, so I literally just asked him, but I would love to bring him over next. We need to be unified as new Black media, and we need to recognize the importance of Black media and not shame entrepreneurial spirit in our people. We need to enhance and grow that. We need to be able to build institutions, maintain institutions, and support institutions in order to have our own. This is essential. So just keep that in mind. Did you have any closing words before we go?
Oh man, closing words. Oh, living in this Babylon system, you definitely want to keep your head on the swivel. The best thing you can do is try to detach yourself as much as possible, at least, you know, by creating your own businesses if you can. Because the way the time and the economy is going, you know, you can't depend on these people. As they winding down and their rule is slowly winding down, they're gonna be looking more out for themselves and not for you. We have other immigrant groups coming in. They're looking out for themselves and not for you. So, and of course, they're being assisted by Jim Crow Joe. You know, we don't have that, right? I mean, Haitians are told, "Don't you dare come over here," but people on the other side of the border, they can come and get help. So, what I'm saying out of all of that is, we're on our own. All we have is each other. So let's, you know, think accordingly. Let's be prepared. You know, like prep. I always say prep. That's very important. You know, we had the winter storm here in Texas, and people that were prepared, they was okay. People that was not prepared, you know, some of them passed away. So we know our position and how we've been for hundreds of years in this country. So let's just get prepared, you know, for the next chapter. It's definitely gonna be interesting. By 2030, you won't even know America anymore.
I actually agree with that. I think the things are really coming down, and the draconian way that we're being handled as citizens is coming to a head. And so it's going to become increasingly more important that we be wise about how we're navigating these systems. For sure. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for taking the time. I would love to keep him a little bit longer, but he has a schedule today, and I was able to snag him for an hour. I will be moving on with the men's leadership series. I have a few guests coming up that I hope that you guys will enjoy. And be sure to check out the Black Men's Leadership Series playlist. There are a variety of different men over there, and they're all doing different kinds of work in the community. They've all built different types of institutions. And I just encourage you guys to check those things out, see what can benefit you, who you can support, and if you're getting any ideas for things that you might choose to build or move forward with yourself. I'll talk to you guys later.
He or she who controls information control the mind.